All things new.
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 New. Everything new. New. Everything new. New. Everything new. New. Everything new. I'm ready to go. Ready for more.
Welcome back to All Things New. We are so happy that you joined us. And ladies, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
I'm
Fantastic.
good. That is great. So before we get started, let's just get a quick introduction.
It's Dana Tyler.
Hey, it's Dr. Matisa.
Shaniqua Lawrence.
Joya Moore.
And Teresa, soon to be.
Okay, soon
Got the wrong hand.
I love that. So ladies, today, quick question. Have you all filed your taxes?
Boo taxes.
Negative.
Death to
Yeah,
taxes.
Death and taxes.
Death to taxes. Well,
The only people who've done their taxes are people who are going to get money back.
I'm waiting till the last minute. I'm waiting till 11:59 on April 15th.
You need my tax
wait,
lady.
It's already.
You can get money back. You need to file. You need the right tax person.
now,
Not being single with no dependents anymore.
you have a house?
I do, but it doesn't give me enough.
That mortgage interest? Okay, we're going to hang up ourselves.
Yes,
Anyway.
we're gonna talk
okay,
later.
sorry. So,
Get me some money back, because I hate giving this man my money.
I know you're right. So, are you going to join us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally,
She was getting tax advice.
I
like,
love it. I
have
love
a
it.
tax lady.
Listen, we talking about our conversations being focused. Shaniqua is like, y'all
money
with us?
focuses me. I
I'm
don't know
talking
about
about
y'all
giving
with
her
us?
some money back
Money
because you should be
focuses
getting
me.
money every time.
So we are talking about
How do you
finances. We are talking about finances today, and we're not just about tax season, but how we, number one, our pastor has talked about being good stewards over what we have.
Absolutely.
So we want to talk about being good stewards over our finances, but specifically, I want to at least start this segment off with how we are managing getting out of debt. What does that look like for you? Not just paying things off, but
Yeah.
how does that look like? What are you using? What tools are you using? Do you have specific tools that you use that you can eliminate and or minimize your debt? Yeah. It doesn't matter who's talking.
Well, I've been debt free before. I think it was maybe in 2000, like with the whole. Well, you guys are probably 10 and 12, but in 1999, I remember not wanting to go into this whole new century, right? Y2K and everything being crazy. But I was literally debt free, no more student loans, all credit cards are paid off, my car was paid off, and I was debt free. Wow. And of course, I've acquired debt since that time, but the tools that I used was I didn't spend if I didn't have to. So everything I bought, I was like, is this a nice to have or a need to have? And if I didn't need it, I didn't buy it. My biggest goal at that time, and I was in part of Dave Ramsey's financial institute, financial peace, and so I really went through what those phases were for saving money, not just paying off my debt, but having money saved in the bank for emergency. And so it was just, I think the tools that we used at that time were paying off credit cards, paying down debt, not acquiring any or getting new debt. So it was a whole season, but it's doable. You absolutely can do it. Yeah.
What were your techniques, tricks?
So for me, Lawrence and I went through, we actually taught Financial
Absolutely,
Peace University,
yeah.
and it was really good. So we developed, we used the snowball method,
Right.
where we paid off, I think we paid off the highest amount first and sort of, and then took
I like
everything we would have used for that, for the next bill. Yep.
I love it.
And that was a really good method for us. I don't use any electronic tool necessarily, but that's the method that worked well for us.
Do you balance your checkbook?
I don't really use a checkbook. No.
I guess that
I mean,
really
the budget.
dated me.
No,
Like,
I still balance check. My
Okay.
friends laugh at me because they're like, "Where did you get this from?" In my mind, I need to see it.
Yeah.
I need to see it in black and white,
I love
so
it.
I can kind of keep track of it.
Well, I mean, I have a spreadsheet.
No, I have like a real checkbook, like a ledger,
Oh.
a register that I carry with me in my wallet. at all
It's
times.
a checkbook now.
Oh, no.
I haven't,
Wait,
wrote-
you
I haven't-
write checks?
I haven't
You
written a
just
check
use-
in
you
probably
just
like
use
10
it.
years.
But you can
But
balance-
but the
balance
registers
it.
that you get from the bank, I
Yeah.
keep the ledgers to keep track of all my transactions.
That's so
Absolutely.
good.
I like it.
But you're in
That is
finance,
good,
so I
yeah.
can see it.
Yeah.
I
think
need to see where because when you have something that's in writing, whether it's a ledger, whether you have a spreadsheet, whether you
Yeah.
keep notes on your phone, when you start seeing where your money is going, it does change your
helps you.
mindset and helps you kind of structure, almost like in a weight loss journey when you
Yeah.
write down what you eat.
Yeah.
Once you start seeing it in black and white with the calories that you consume, you kind of change your habits about it. So that's how I look at it.
No, that makes sense. I use my notes.
Yeah.
So I have everything, like everything that I owe, how much I owe, and so it feels good when I could go in it. And then like, okay, now I only owe $500. So I use my notes, and we're on that road to being debt free.
It's a beautiful feeling.
Yeah.
When you take, again, one step at a time. You don't, it looks overwhelming depending on how much debt you have. But if you attack one thing at a time, you can either use the snowball method or you can do the reverse. What's your smallest balance? Let me start with that first and then work your way up.
And I did that.
Yeah.
It's easier for me because that bigger one, I'm like, Jesus
It
Christ!
could be glaring.
Oh, Lord! Is it not going down?
Dr.
So I'm
Matissa
like,
and
give me
I.
that small
Dr. Matissa and I were just talking about the lovely world of Capital One.
Sure.
Which sometimes can be glaring, but they have great benefits. But with great benefits and great rewards comes those great numbers and the interest rates on them. So I want to shift quickly, just really quickly, as believers. We are taught to tithe, and we are taught to sow, and we're taught to give. But what does that look like, or how do you pair that when you are trying to be debt-free, when you're trying to get a budget, when you're trying to structure your household? Like, how do you pair the Word of God and what we're teaching with what you see in real time or in reality?
For me, tithing it's a non-negotiable.
It's a non-negotiable.
It's a non-negotiable. And I love one thing that Pastor says. I do this, but when he said it just really resonated with me. He talked about when we tithe, it's the giving of, the first. Yeah. So it's not just the 10%, but it's the first thing that I'm giving. So whenever I get money from anything, Teresa knows. Sometimes I'll call her on a Tuesday, on a Thursday,
I'm paying my tithe.
because
Like,
I want it to go in immediately, because I don't want to I don't want to think about it. I don't want to struggle in it, because I trust God. I believe God. I've seen Him move, and so for me, the budget, the tithing it's just a non-negotiable, and I've seen God move by using His principles. Right?
Absolutely. For me, I know we were talking earlier, and it was a life lesson for me. But and everybody is not at that spiritual awareness or that life lesson. But when I first, especially when I was working, up until about 15 years ago, I would tithe off my net, right? Because they said you tithe into what comes into your hands.
Right,
So I was like, oh, I would tithe into what comes into my hands. And I remember sitting in a Bible study and my pastor teaching about tithing, and and it was a conviction that the Lord gave me. So it wasn't even
That's
something
good.
that somebody told me.
Yeah.
But it was a conviction, because I was like, when you pay off your net, what you're really saying is that the government is first. Because they take their
wow, right
taxes,
off the top.
and then what you're paying
That's
is what they
so
allow
good.
you to have. And so that convicted me, because I'm like, no, Lord, I want you to be first. And so it was, okay, well, do you trust me to tithe off your gross? Now, them numbers are going to be different. Those numbers are going to be, they're going to look a little different.
Oh,
Okay.
Because when you factor in all the benefits and all the
They're going to
things.
look a little different. But
Yeah.
once
Sam
you do it,
money he took from me.
but once you do it, you set a precedence with God, because it says, prove me.
That's so good.
And so when I honor the covenant, you have to honor your word to me. And so it became easy. Now the first couple of times it was
Right. Hey, baby.
oh Jesus. And now it was just like, oh, okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember a time in my life where I tithed on what I wanted to make. I was like, let
Yes,
me, and
absolutely.
I mean,
Done
when
that,
I was
I've
telling
done
you,
that.
I was making tens of thousands, like groups of tens of thousands of dollars more every year, because normally increase in corporate America is 3% if you just do the regular progression. But I would get, instead of like, just the regular $6,000, it was like, oh, this is going to be a $20,000 raise. But I started sowing and tithing on what I wanted to make. But for me, the way I tie God's principle into my finance, it's the whole principle of sowing and reaping. Like, that's not just practiced in the church, that's practiced worldwide. Every philanthropists I know, they give, and that's how they get so much more, and they reap. And so it's just a principle of sowing and reaping, and it's not even, you don't have to be sanctified to get it. You don't, God doesn't have to give you a revelatory experience about it. And to me, I take that principle and I sow, I pay my tithes first, I sow and I give, and God keeps giving back to me more and more and more.
I love the saying, I think Pastor has used it before, if it doesn't meet the need, it's a seed. Yeah. And so tithing, again, for me is non-negotiable as well, right? And so when I tithe, I just think of like, all right, God, you got to prove yourself. You know, my
He's not
testimony.
scared of you.
I know. I'm scared
All right,
of him.
God. He like,
All
all
right,
right, Joya.
All right,
Pay
God.
them tithes. Pay them on Thursday when you get the money.
Got it. Bet. But and I saw God prove it to me even in these my time of being off. I didn't get FMLA and or short-term disability. All our bills were paid. All my bills were paid because all the house bills were paid.
He rebuked
All
the
my bills-
devourer.
He rebukes it.
That's so
He tells me to prove him, and so when I tithe, I'm like, okay, I'm proving. So when I got my last check, that was the first. I didn't even think twice. Like, no, I'm gonna tithe, and God just gonna have to take. And He literally took care of us this whole time that I haven't been working.
Well, let me tell you this. I mean, you all know, as I've said, all these shows, Lawrence passed away in December. And my humanity, I was like, God, what are we going to do? Because I was, working as a contract worker. He was the one with the full-time position. I was pursuing some things that I felt like God had for me. And I share this testimony. I think about this often. I was literally saying to God, like, what am I going to do? How is this going to work? Yeah. And God said to me so clearly, He said, I'll take it from here.
Oh.
I will take it from here. That does sound like a book, doesn't it?
Write that.
Write that down. I need to write that down. But when I tell you that God has exceeded, right? And so it's one thing to talk about debt elimination. It's another thing to talk about investing. And being at a point where your mind is not in deficit. And how am I going to pay this off? And that is the thing. But it's really about how can I multiply this money?
Yes.
That's a whole new level of freedom.
That's
we've
where
been
I
on
wanna
not
get to.
I don't want to be just enough. We're on. We want more than enough. We were tired of walking in that. We got enough. We were like, no, God, we want more than enough. So I don't want to think about the, what I'm trying to get out of. No, what am I putting my money in? What's going to make me more money?
While you sleep, I want that passive income. I want the multiple streams of income that come that don't require my effort for it. That's the kind of blessing that I'm looking for.
And while we have a few minutes, just one more minute left, quick question. When you are thinking about investing, and whether I know, Teresa, you're into trading. I kind of just started dabbling into it because it seemed interesting to me. But one of the things that I thought, about was, again, and I mentioned it on another show before a couple of weeks ago about asking God for wisdom. And so one of the things about finances that is very important is that you ask God for wisdom on how to manage what He gives you, because none of it, the earth is the Lord's, none of it is ours. He allows us to manage. He gives us things to manage. But when you open up our eyes to investing and things of that nature, where we may feel that we are incompetent, maybe we don't really know, if we just trust in Him to make the difference and to give us that wisdom to read and to learn. And it can't just be spiritual. Pick up a book, read, get some education, get a coach. A lot of you mentor each other where they can help you multiply your resources, because we don't want to be in a spirit of lack. We don't want to operate, and especially in the Black church, we were taught for years that, you got to be poor. That means you love God.
Be holy.
And I'm
Poor
like,
and
no,
lowly.
I'm a king's kid. And I've never met one king's child that was poor.
At all.
But I have to have the resources and the strength and the wisdom and the ability to use what He's given me to multiply. And so in this season of tax time, whether you paid your taxes, whether you are looking for a new job, whatever the situation may be, ask God to give you wisdom to create multiple streams. And it doesn't have to be a lot, because as long as it's consistent, I think you mentioned consistency before, it will open up the floodgates later, and you can be a blessing and continue to be a blessing going forward.
Well, this is what I wanted to say too about that, because we get taught about the parable of talents as though managing money was the command, But when we talk about faithfulness, we think that's attendance, we think that's being consistent, but it's actually that multiplying. Because when the servants came to God and they had multiplied, that's when he said, well done, good and faithful servant. So it's not just about the consistency, it is about finding ways to multiply what God has.
Taking action.
That's right. And guess what? In addition to the wisdom, there are people in the kingdom who do this for a living.
Yes. Why not tap in?
So, right. So that's why all of our gifts and talents need to be in other spaces.
Yeah.
Right, so that we can help one another. We don't have to know it all.
Right.
But there are people who know it in the kingdom or outside the kingdom.
Right.
That's the
And
part of
I
community.
feel like this is something that God wants us. The word tells us he gives us the ability to gain wealth. So he
Power to
wants us
create.
to gain wealth. He wants us to prosper. Our journey right now is God is just connecting. Like he's bringing people in our lives to teach us. And it's like you just can't, walk around and act like you're this pro at everything. You just got to be open and willing to learn. So, yeah.
Great.
I
Well,
love
we
that.
want to thank you all so much. Stay tuned. We have one break coming up, and then we are going to be joined with our We Are the People.
Yes.
Yay. Be right back.
Right back.
Hey, I'm Dr. Matisa Wilbin, and I'm so excited to tell you about my upcoming Disrupt 365 cohort. It begins on May 15th. You do not want to miss this 6-week program where we're doing all things leadership, we're focusing on our purpose, and we're allowing God to help us disrupt all of those things that are stopping us from being who God has called us to be. I need you to register. Go to my website, www.matisawilbin.com. Join me in my amazing community of disruptors because we are changing the game.
Well, welcome back. I am so excited to continue our segment of We the People. This time we have a spin on finances, and I want to share a stat with you all that really angered me, and I'm sure it will anger you too. Right? Black Americans hold $5.3 trillion in wealth compared to the $134 trillion held by white Americans. So in the grand scheme of things, white households account for 84% of the nation's wealth, while black households hold only 3.4%, despite representing 13.7% of the population versus the white Americans' population of 58.4%. So initially, our reactions, we are angry, we are shocked, we are, what is going on?
That's crazy.
But it does date back to the racial disparities that we have all experienced.
Absolutely.
So the pay gap, redlining, how black entrepreneurs don't often receive the loans that their white counterparts receive. And so my question is, as black women, how can we challenge systemic wealth disparities and create pathways to economic empowerment?
That's beautiful. I belong to a group called the Millionaires Club. You should look it up. It's for black women, and I don't know when the founder founded it, but this is her philosophy. She's like, okay, we have the current administration. We know that they're going to benefit people economically. We need to be a part of that.
I love it.
So the whole goal is to educate and empower women so that even though we know all of these things are not good or right, but benefit from whatever is happening. And so I love this idea of just educating ourselves, empowering, being parts of community. Because for a lot of us, I know for me, I didn't grow up learning about wealth.
No, not at all.
I mean, it really was a struggle. My mom was a single mom of 5 children, and so I learned how to struggle. I learned how to be resilient, but I didn't learn how to accumulate wealth. It wasn't until I was in school and saw other people and then got married, and then even there, even then we struggled. But now I'm looking to accumulate and make sure that I'm creating generational wealth.
Going
That's
from
so
this
good.
mindset of making do, we learned how to make do from the struggle that we were raised in to receiving what is due from all that we put into our economy.
Yeah, I think growing up, we were considered middle class America or black America, but I didn't see the benefits of it. My parents had money, I didn't have any, but I don't think I learned those financial lessons and insights until I started working in corporate America. And my boss, a white man whom I love now, and he was like, Teresa, how much are you investing in 401k? Our company does a match to it. And I'm like, I want all my money. And so he was like, no, put your money in your 401k. And then he was teaching me how to use my money, how to invest it, how companies take your money in your 401k, and they invest it, and that's how they, double it, triple it, whatever it is. And so I started taking life lessons in finances from my boss, who was essentially part of that number that you have in your stats. And he was teaching me how to do it, and I was so grateful because it opened up my mind to, I want to have more. And so Pastor always talks about having several rivers of income, because not streams of revenue. Streams trickle, but rivers flow. And so I want several rivers of income. And so I do more than one thing. We're multi-talented, and I want to get paid for everything I know how to do. And so, yes, Shaniqua said it earlier that I trade, but I'm trading in the same market that Elon Musk and everybody else is trading in, because the money is there, but I'm educating myself on how to get it. So like my brother trades with me, and of course he has far more money than I do. So like in a day he'll make $1,000, I make 100 until I can build my account up. But it's like I want to tap into the same wealth stream that's there, but I want to get in it too. I want to get paid for doing real estate. I want to get paid for doing administration. I just started my business goals towards getting government contracts and teaching for small businesses and putting together events and conferences, because I've learned that information here, and I'm getting ready to get paid.
That's really
That
good.
is so good.
And so I literally prayed about, God, what am I supposed to be doing to gain wealth, the wealth that he said he'd give us the power to get. And I started experimenting. Okay, this comes easy to me. I know how to do this. I want to get paid for it.
I love it. I love it. I love tapping into the things that come easy to us. Yeah. So I think that's where we start. Like, what is it that you're good to? What is it that you're good at? And then you think about that, and God will give you the wisdom on how to monetize that.
And I think one of the things. Oh, I'm sorry. So I know when it comes to like those invents, when you think about people who invent things, whether it be 100 years ago or 50 years ago or last week, one of the things that I've come to realize is that those people that invent and they reap the rewards and they monetize, they only have one thing different than some of us. They have no fear. They have no fear of failure. They have no fear of failure. Yeah. And if they do fail, it's a lesson of what not to do the next time.
Failing
and
forward.
They'll go back. They'll fail forward. They'll go back. They'll recalibrate. They kind of make some adjustments, and then they'll do it again. Whereas some of us, especially in the black church or the black community, the fear of failure grips us because we haven't had. Some of us haven't had in so long, we're scared to let go because we don't know what's on the other side of a try.
Yeah.
But it's what we've been taught. We're products of our environment. I think about when I left corporate America, I wasn't retirement age, but I was like, I want to do real estate full time. My mother was in much trepidation about me leaving a job where I got paid every week and I had money in the bank. And like, she was like, don't you leave that good paying job. And so because that's the way they were brought up and the way they were taught. And so now, back in my day, it was good to be on a job for 15, 30 years. Now it's like you go somewhere, right? It's like, you still there? What are they paying
Right,
you?
what's
You
wrong?
haven't taken over the company by now? And so it's like now it's a whole new mindset, but it's the old stats are our parents. These stats, these families, we're trying to change that number, but we can't do it with the mindset we had before that's tied to that fear.
Yeah, I was going to say some of it is belief. I have a friend.
We're gonna get to you, Dana. Like,
I haven't said anything this whole
You are
show.
next. We honor you. You're coming up. Your time
Please
is
speak.
next. Just not now.
We need a moderator.
I was just going to say really quickly, that is so funny. I know. I do keynote speaking as well, and I've been doing it for about a year. And I have a friend who is a high-level keynote speaker, one where I'm trying to get
Paid keynote speaker.
paid keynote speaker.
I love it.
And so part of it, like you said, is mindset, because one of the things that he tells me, he's like, Matisa, you're jumping over dollars to get to dimes.
Ooh.
And he said, what you have and can do in the church and outside of the church is far greater than a lot of these people that I see, but they believe in themselves. And so they're, where I might get 10,000, they're getting 20,000, they're getting 30,000. And so for me, it's been a leap just to believe, because I know I've got it, but it's just the belief that somebody's gonna
see that. And
Yes.
so, but as I've become more confident in asking, so when people ask my price, at first I'd be like, well,
No.
I want
For
it to be
you.
this, but if you only have this in your budget,
No,
But
this
now,
is the price.
Yes,
This is what I'm worth,
And
you're
they will
going to
pay
pay
you
up.
for it
and they do.
And they do. They do.
without blinking.
Without blinking.
It makes you like, I should have asked for more.
Exactly. Exactly.
Let Dana speak.
So what I was going to say.
We're all pivoting.
This better be good.
Oh my God, this better be good. Dear
Drop
Jesus, word in my
this
mouth. No, one of the things that I was gonna say, because like you, my mom kind of grew up with struggle mentality, or like just barely making it. And even though now she's in a place where she can pretty much afford anything that she wants to, she doesn't think generationally. So one of the things that I regret doing when I moved to Atlanta was selling my home, because most of the wealth that we see comes from real estate, right? And I wish I would have held on to the home and passed it. Now I do intend to go and get it back for them, but I want to amass wealth through real estate. When I moved here, I worked for an estate planning company, which is another thing that we fail to do. We don't plan for that. And I remember the clients that we had, the poorest, if you will, held $22 million of wealth. And it was all through land. So that opened my eyes, and I think that's the
exposure
reason
was
I was
for you.
there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And do you think that God allows you to get exposed to stuff like that just for you, just to
No.
play with you?
It was to help me rethink. Yeah.
And to see what's accessible in your life.
Exactly.
To see what's it's possible. If I can do it for someone who doesn't believe, imagine what he would do for the believer.
Right.
Absolutely. And so this kind of brings me to the point where I don't know if you all heard of this book called PTSD, but it's post-traumatic slave disorder.
Yes.
And it is so good. So it's kind of like African Americans, we were brought over here with a mindset to work. And so now we have that instilled in us. We worked for little, and so we don't know how to take our, like I said earlier, I think in a few episodes ago, when I said take our mindsets back, we saw our grandparents struggle. We saw our parents struggle. Struggle is built in us. So either you're going to fight, I think we said in another episode, we're going to either fight or flight, And so when you get the mindset that this is not where I want to be anymore, you start taking accountability. You start pulling your children out of different circumstances. I was blessed enough to graduate college debt-free undergrad,
Lord, you can
So,
still do it.
but that's because my parents, they instilled in me scholarships, They wanted me to work hard. And so I was able to reap the benefits. Now, can I say the same for my master's? No, but that was on me. That was on me, but I'm working on it, And so once you get out of the mindset that you don't have to struggle in order to have good things come to you, you start moving differently, which kind of shifts me to the point of relationships. I know finances in relationships are kind of like, and it's
I'm gonna
cringy.
marry somebody rich.
It-
That's
that-
kinda
okay,
right.
that's
People
what I'm
always
saying.
fight over money and
People
sex.
always fight over those two things.
Never have enough of either one.
And so let me ask this for my ladies that I'm so sorry.
Really pivoted. Wow.
Sorry.
You're really taking your time. Wow.
So for my ladies that dated, I'm sure all of us have dated before, is money something that you're looking for in a relationship?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Next question.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so when I say is it something that
No,
you're looking
I am
for?
looking for love.
Yeah. Okay. So is it a fact that do you mind making more than the person that you're dating or married to?
You know what's interesting? I actually made more money than my husband, who passed away. But then when he found that out, he went out and did some other things so that he could make more money. So, amen.
That's funny.
I would say for me in dating, I've always made more than the person than the men. I don't want to say men like us like that, but the people that I've dated. All the men. All the men. The history.
All of the men. She makes more than all of you. I want you to know. All of them.
All y'all.
And not leaving one out.
And to be honest, and I would say in my more mature relationships, as I grew older and as I got older, it became something that I was almost fearful of discussing with them, especially because I knew I made more than them.
Absolutely.
For however I found out, but I felt like if we were not going to go to the place of marriage, it wasn't a conversation that needed to be had. That was my mistake, because I felt like if we're not going to be at the place of marriage, or if marriage was on the table and it got called off for whatever reason, then that's not a part of my life that you needed to know, or that I needed to know, because I thought it was too private. And what I'm learning, and what I've learned since then, is that if you are in any intimate relationship, parental, platonic, whatever, and you have a covenant with somebody, or you want to see somebody grow, you just like you have the hard conversations about estate planning, and like you need to have a conversation about finances and how you manage it, what that looks like to you, what debt payoff looks like to you, how do you pay bills? Are
your
you
relationship with
because
money?
I will say it took me a while, but my bills are auto pay, because I've got to a place where I can manage my finances. Now, if you are still cashing your checks at the check cashing place and don't have a bank account, we need to speak about that, because there's a different mindset
That's
there.
a deal breaker.
That's a
That's
deal
a
breaker.
deal breaker.
I'm okay with making
Baby,
more.
no. No. Why do we even have chicks?
Like I Jesus
I don't even want to
Christ.
make more money than my man.
I made more money than my husband when we first got married. And I was okay with it just because of where I was, where he was, blah, blah, blah. But now, of course, he makes more than I do. So it was not a deal breaker at all. But I think one of the main things was just trying to make sure that we were on the same page as how saving looked, how paying off debt looked, and different things like that.
Was that a hard conversation for you to have?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't hard at all.
I haven't had any serious relationships yet, but my aspirations for when I actually enter the dating world again after college, I am thinking about how I'm going to be what I wish to see and what I want to
Absolutely.
have. Because there's no way that I can continue to think about, oh my gosh, Prince Charming is going to come sweep me off my feet and take care of me, and I'm just going to be able to do whatever I want. But that's simply not enough in today's age. We are not the women that were involved in the cult of domesticity as our, forefathers and families have been involved in. We are the women who are out doing the work, having multiple rivers of income, and really making sure that economic empowerment is at the forefront. And so I'm looking, now that I leave college, in my graduation season, like what job is going to set me up to build wealth? I didn't do a great job managing my funds from the campaign or managing my funds from the White House. And I'm taking that like, okay, that was a loss. But I'm going to fail forward in this next position. When I receive this position, how am I going to save? How am I going to invest? How am I going to live below my means so that I can enjoy the fruits of my labor years after? Because once I get to law school, I won't be able to work that hard in 1L. And so I'm going to have to save. I'm going to have to think about that heading into graduation. What is the next step that will set me up for what I want to see? Because he's on his way. But he can't come now because I'm not ready. There's just not,
That's good.
like, what I want to
honest.
receive, it's
And you have to
not
know
in the
this.
account.
As
for me
opposed
receive
to
what
me, I am ready.
There it is. There it is. Teresa is ready, everyone. Feel free to reach out.
Right? No.
Now
But,
feel free to
but
reach
what I
out.
was going to say to that is, and because you have those desires, now put yourself in the community and spaces where people can teach you.
Yes.
Because there are people who have gone through law school and were able to save money, but there are your network of community. And then even maybe getting a financial planner or finding, surrounding yourself with someone or getting a mentor in how to obtain that wealth and do it and build your school, do it the right way. And I think that that's one big disadvantage. We don't really seek counselors or life coaches or, wealth advisors. And those people are there, but you have to spend some money to get that knowledge.
Yeah. And I just like to say these people are off limits. They belong to me. So
No, we have to get Teresa back out here.
Guys, we could keep on talking about this subject. This is amazing. But, of course, it's time for us to go. One of the things that I just want to remind our audience is that the earth is the Lord's.
The earth is the
Fullness
Lord's.
thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. So if there's a desire for you to, if you want to gain wealth, if you want to get more, if you want to invest, seek the Father. Like we always do, we're going to end with prayer. Spirit of the living God, we thank you for this night. God, we thank you that that you have given us the ability to gain wealth. God, now we ask you to connect us with the right people at the right time. We thank you for a shift in our mindsets about money, God. We just give you glory for all the things that you're doing for us. We thank you for testimonies on this stage about what the Lord has done. Increase our tithes. We love you for that, and it's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Man.
So we want to thank you again for joining us tonight for another episode, a wonderful episode of All Things New, where our conversations are always fresh, forward, and focused. Have a good night.
Good night.
I'm ready to flow. I'm ready to move. The whole is through. I'm in Papa's new bag. And it's still got the tags. And you know
All Things New.